Today on Straight Talk Africa, constitutional presidential term limits. Most Africans surveyed believe they are vital for good governance and socio-economic justice. What about you? That's coming up next right here on Straight Talk Africa. Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America headquarters here in Washington. I am Shaka Sali.
And hello to all our viewers and listeners on the continent and elsewhere. I'm Esther Gido-Ewart, your social media reporter. Today,
it's a discussion on the significance of constitutional presidential term limits in Africa.
And coming up later, our audience has weighed in on our topic through emails, Facebook, and Twitter comments. We'll reveal some of them ahead on Straight Talk Africa.
During the 1990s, many African countries introduced presidential term limit provisions in their constitutions. But in recent years, several countries have shifted the constitutional goalposts. My colleague, Paul Ndiho, has more.
A study done by Afrobarometer, a pan-African, non-partisan polling firm that conducts public surveys on democracy and governance in Africa, revealed that the public support for presidential term limits among citizens is at all-time high, with very few exceptions. But political maneuvering to remove or circumvent term limits by some heads of state is alarming. The new kid on the block, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, is proposing to amend his nation's constitution to introduce term limits, even though Ethiopia is a parliamentary system which does not normally require term limits. In April 2018, Sierra Leone's opposition leader, Julius Maada Bio, was sworn in as president, replacing incumbent President Ernest Bai Koroma, who abided by the country's constitution. In January 2018, George Weah, a former international football star, was sworn in as president of Liberia, succeeding incumbent Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who stepped down at the end of her second constitutionally allowable term. In 2016, voters in Senegal cast their ballots in a referendum to reduce the country's presidential term from 7 years to 5 years. Senegal's move is in stark contrast to many of Africa's long-time leaders who have successfully amended their nation's constitution. For example, in Burundi and other East African countries, incumbent presidents have exploited ambiguities in the law to extend their terms. In Rwanda's latest election, President Paul Kagame won with nearly 100% of the vote, securing a third term in office. Kagame's re-election came after a constitutional amendment which ended a two-term limit, allowing him to remain in power until 2034. Last December, Uganda's parliament voted to lift the age limit for the presidency, setting the stage for the longer-time leader Yoweri Museveni to rule indefinitely. Museveni changed the constitution in 2005 to abolish term limits. Congolese President Joseph Kabila is still clinging to power after his second term expired in 2016, and it remains to be seen what his next move will be. Equatorial Guinea's President Theodore Obiang Nguema Mbasogo has ruled since August 1979. He won a fifth 7-year term in 2016. In neighboring Cameroon, Paul Biya, who has been in power for 36 years, but he's facing his most serious political crisis yet over the ongoing internal conflict involving the Anglophone Cameroonians and the government. Idriss Déby, who has ruled Chad for 28 years, could stay in power until 2033. Elsewhere, Sudan's Omar al-Bashir has been in power for 29 years. Political observers say weak institutions and rubber-stamp parliaments make it easier for presidents to eliminate term limits. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Thanks, Paul, for that interesting report.